A new era has begun. Prepare yourself for the apocalypse.
Hey everybody, Chief here. I just wanted to touch base with everybody with the release of 5.0. It dropped this morning on iOS and I believe Android got it yesterday morning, so 5.0 is officially here, and I wanted to just kind of go over the update notes, take a look at some of the changes, and give you guys just basically a heads up on what's going to be happening with not only the update 5.0 but the War Robots anniversary event. So first thing here, the release notes, or they call them patch notes, are available for everybody to view on warrobots.com or warrobots.net. That's the official War Robots website. So I'm just going to kind of go over the notes here, and then I'll be popping back and forth between the browser here and the game so we can take a look at some of the things they're talking about. The first thing on the update notes, it was a bit of a surprise for everybody as it wasn't discussed or released ahead of time, is the upgrade overdrive. Basically during the entire event, which is supposed to be about 3 weeks long, I believe, all upgrade times, or not times, rather, the cost, all upgrade costs will be 25% less. Probably not much of a savings on some of the quicker or cheaper upgrade time or upgrade costs, but when you're looking at 40 to 70 million to upgrade, say, a robot to level 11 or 12, you're that's going to be considerable savings. So that is a nice surprise. It has not started yet. I believe they're going to wait until the event officially starts, which according to this pop-up that just came in on my game is about 18 hours from now. So hopefully that silver saving does come in right at the start of the event. And just to give you a quick example, if I wanted to upgrade like my Blitz to level 10, oops, I didn't do that. 36 million, so 25% savings on that is like 8 million silver, which is quite a bit. So that's kind of a pretty good deal. Now we'll just kind of move next here. The special delivery. This is for the anniversary event, and this is basically a different name, but it's the equivalent of the last event's lottery. They're calling it special delivery, but basically you have to complete tasks in the game, earn tokens, and then so many tokens will allow you to get a special delivery, which could be full robots, the Ragnarok Squad, which would be pretty awesome to get a free robot from the new release, the Eldritch Ares, and the Imperial Hades, the Infinity Nemesis. Now keep in mind the Infinity Nemesis is a little different than the Ares in the 80s, as in that I believe is just a skin compared to, or it's a paint job compared to the Ares in the 80s, which are completely different bots. It's not a paint job, it's completely redesigned visual effects for the bots, similar to the dragon weapons from the Lunar New Year event. Ragnarok Squad components, anywhere from 500 to 2500, so that's kind of nice. The Blaze Marquis Calamity components, 1000 components each, or a full weapon. So, of course, you know, I'm betting that full robots and weapons probably don't drop very often, but it would be kind of nice to pick some of those up as well if you didn't get the dragon version. And then, of course, there's gold 300 to 1000 and power cells 1500. Now, this looks really good on the surface, but one thing to keep in mind is the more things in the prize pool, the less chance you are to get something that you want. But you know, pretty much all the prizes are desirable, so you know. And according to some of the official released videos, they said that basically if you complete all the tasks for a day, you'll be able to get enough tokens to at least roll once in the special delivery. And according to their videos, it looks like there's going to be 3 tasks. One that gives 20, one that gives 30, and one that gives 50 tokens, and it takes 100 tokens to spin on the lottery. There was also a hint that everybody's going to start off with a free 600 tokens, which is nice, and they were talking about you know, the longer you play, that might increase the amount of free tokens that you get, so I'm not exactly sure what they mean there. It's kind of hard to interpret sometimes what Big Sonic means in their official releases, so we'll have to wait and see on that. The arena season. This is basically for the next 5 weekends. The arena mode is, like I said, is taking place of the skirmish, so we won't be getting skirmishes over the next month or so, and it's basically going to be a free-for-all type of event that you have to pay into. The releases that they've put out is it's going to cost every person 100 gold to play a match, and the top 3 winners will get prizes, which is going to be gold and I believe the power cells. So we'll see how that works out. I'm not sure if it's going to be really worth it for everybody, but you know, I guess 50% chance of increasing what you paid is a pretty good deal. Plus, the big deal with the arena is everybody uses the same hangars, and they're going to be going through the different eras, basically, and so basically, so the first weekend it's going to be all of the bots that were released in the first year. And then the second year, third, fourth, fifth. So it's, I don't know, kind of a cool idea, I guess. I don't play a lot of free-for-all anymore. I used to, but you know, it could be kind of fun if it's implemented right, and it really is. You know, everybody's starting in an equal setting, because I know really in free-for-all there's certain positions and starting positions to, you know, kind of get the shaft, and I don't know, but we'll have to take a look at that. I'm sure it's going to be popular mainly because it's new, and there is a chance of getting a decent return on your gold. So the next item, the special edition Ares in Hades, I already kind of discussed that. you're going to be able to get the Elder Cherries, the Imperial 80s from the special delivery crates. Don't know if I can show you what they're going to look like. Yeah, that's the Ragnarok Squad video. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have that pulled up, and it's not in the store yet. At least I don't think it is. So I don't think there's any way for me to look at what the bots are actually going to look like in the game. But there are several videos and release on YouTube and the official Facebook page that show what they look like. Blaze, Marquess and Calamity are coming to an official release now, and these are not the Dragon versions, these are the regular versions, and they are officially released as part of the what do they call these up here, the special delivery crates. Okay, so that's where you're going to be able to get them at first, but I believe after the event they will end up going into not only the store but also the super chest. And now everybody's favorite here, the balance changes. Now this is kind of where I'm going to have to go back and forth to the game, but some of the buffs and nerfs that happen, and not everybody's happy with balances. I think everybody likes to get buffs and nobody wants to get nerfs, but sometimes a nerf is kind of warranted. And unfortunately with Pixonic, they don't always communicate things clearly or in advance, so sometimes we don't really understand why there is a nerf being done to a robot, and it's come to find out later on that it's because of something else they were going to be doing or changing or releasing in the future. But taking a look here, we've got the Raker. It is moving from only one shot or one projectile each time you use the ability to 5, with the overall damage of 15,000 if all 5 of them hit. And keep in mind that the Raker recently got an increase in the number of activations for its abilities, so it went from 2 to 3. The Raker is a fun little bot. He's a great mid to long range support bot. Some people try to brawl with it, and I think you can, but it is a lot more difficult to brawl with the Raker. And Mercury ability cooldown went from 15 to 18 seconds. Originally they were talking about possibly doing a damage nerf to its Hell Dive. They backed off of that for the time being. It still might be something they do in the future, I'm not sure, but I think the Mercury is still going to be a strong bot and still very usable. The unfortunate thing with the Mercury is, my opinion here, is it really fell victim to Last Stand. Basically, if any robot is less than 50% health, you don't know if it has a Last Stand, but there's a good chance that it does. And you're going to miss out on a lot of your Hell Dive damage. And that's kind of the main reason why I took mine out of my hangar. I had one here. He was a lot of fun to play, but unfortunately he just doesn't make the cut in my brawling hangar anymore, because he can't, in my opinion, he can't really keep up because of the Last Stands. Now, there is talk from Pixonic that Last Stand is being looked at, and they decided not to make a change to it right now, but pretty sure it's going to get changed in the future. How they gets changed, I don't know. Will it let some of the bots like the Mercury come back? You know, I mean, the Mercury still is a very strong bot. Don't get me wrong. It's just personally in my hangar, he just doesn't have a place right now. There's better options. Now on to the Vader. Now they're calling this a nerf. I guess overall it is a nerf, but the durability went down by 20,000, which isn't much. The Invader has a ridiculous amount of health, but it did get lowered. And then you've got the ability cooldown also was increased by 3 seconds, which is not really a big deal, I think, but I think overall this bot is still extremely powerful. So I don't think too many people are gonna even notice the adjustments that were made to this bot. But yeah, it was a little bit OP with the ridiculous amount of health it had, plus the it's being able to reuse its ability so quickly. You could usually get your ability used 2 times when fighting multiple robots on a beacon, so that was kind of ridiculous. But the good thing with this buff is this nerf with the Invader is they increased its movement speed up to 44 kilometers an hour. So that is going to be kind of helpful, especially for invaders, you know, that are being played on medium or longer maps. I think that increase in speed is going to be significant, and it's going to help you kind of get to the action a little bit faster. The Blitz. The Blitz just the Blitz was strong to begin with, but he is even stronger now. He got a hefty increase in his health. He got a speed increase, which I think is the most significant thing, because how the Blitz was on the live server before, he was pretty slow when he wasn't using his ability, and that made it difficult to use him effectively or get to, you know, to help out your teammates or to get to a beacon. So they bumped up his speed quite a bit. Now he's at 55 kilometers an hour. When he's not using his ability, that's a huge deal for him. And his shield, his Aegis shield, also got a nice increase. It went from like 50,000 to 65,000 damage that his Aegis can take now. That's you know, overall, I think you're gonna be seeing a lot more blitzes on the battlefield for those that had them and thought they were a lot of fun to play. That maybe took him out because he just wasn't quite where he needed to be to earn a spot in their hangar. I think they're going to put him back in. He's got a good amount of firepower, and now he's going to be decently fast. So I'm looking forward to having some fun with one, that's for sure. The Nemesis is the next robot on the list. The Nemesis also got a decent buff. Went from 170 to 180,000 damage. That's not much, but I'll take anything I can get on my Nemesis because he is a little bit squishy when he doesn't have his shield up. And they did make a change to basically the mechanic of his shield. The retribution from his built-in weapons, basically there's a set amount of damage that his weapons will do, and then if you look here, it says maximum damage bonus is 100%. So if you know his at level 9, this Nemesis, if his built-in weapon system can do, say, 50,000 damage, base damage, to an enemy, then the most it can get up to is going to be 100,000. So basically twice the amount of damage if he's taking a lot of damage on his shield. Now, the way the shield works for the Retribution is if somebody's shooting you know, at the Nemesis or Hades or Ares when their shield is up, it's obviously it's preventing all the damage from coming through. But say you fire, you know, 150,000 damage at that shield, the robot's not going to take anything, but it's going to turn around and convert that to damage added on to the base damage from the weapon, built-in weapon. So previously it was 30% of that damage, or we'll just say 100,000 to make the math real easy. So somebody fires 100,000 damage at the shield while it's up, it was going to convert 30% of that, so it would give 30,000 damage added on to the base of, say, 50,000. So you would have overall 80,000 damage from your built-in weapons. But then they just boosted it up to 50%, so instead of adding 30,000 damage, it's going to add that 50,000 damage and actually bring it up to its full capacity of, say, 100,000 damage, which is significant. Now, I mean, the damage from the Retribution is going to be dependent on the level of your Nemesis, but I hope I kind of explain that, because it does get a little bit confusing, and I know looking at some of the different social media, people were not really sure how all that translated. The next item is the Hades. I haven't really had much of a chance to use my Hades. He has been quite a bit of fun, but his built-in weapon has been, well, just terrible. But they are giving his built-in weapon a nice damage boost, and the lock-on, or they're calling it a lock-on, the projectile speed also is going faster, but it sounds to me like you have a much increased chance of the bullet from the built-in weapon actually hitting the target. The way it was before was, I mean, most of the time you would kind of miss the target, and that kind of really hurt the robot and prevented a lot of people from using it too much. But like my Hades at level 6, I currently have him in my long range hangar running my Calamity and Spark. It's actually pretty effective on long range maps, but with this change I'll probably level him up a little bit more. Yeah, plan on leveling all my robots, but I might give a little more priority to the Hades, get him at least to level 9, and then you know, maybe move him into my main hangar, outfit him with some different weapons, and see how he does. I think he was probably the least played of all of the god bots, and you know, hopefully this buff will allow people to bring him back into their hangar and make it a little more playable and enjoyable. The Wayland. You don't really see Waylands very often, especially in Champion League, in any of the beacon modes. When they first got released, you kind of saw them a little here and there. You still see them maybe a little bit at in lower leagues, but did he need a buff? I don't know. I think the way he works, it just isn't a very good robot for the beacon modes, but like TDM, he's fairly effective. So we'll see if the buff that he's got is going to help. I mean, his repair radius did get moved up significantly. His durability went up a little. That's kind of not really a big deal. And his repair amount also went up. So who knows? Maybe we will see a few people with them. I believe I have one also. Of course, I haven't really messed with it for a long time, so he's probably pretty far down here. I have a lot of robots. There he is. So yeah, I mean, I don't even know why I put, leveled him up to level 4. I think that was back before they separated the different game modes, and I was trying him out for Team Deathmatch, but once they separated, he really had no use in my hangar. I do like the paint jobs. Both of them on him are pretty good. I think he ultimately needs a little bit more in order for people to really use him a lot, though. And now the Mender. Oh, the Mender. Okay, yeah, I've got 3 Menders now. I used to run 2 Menders in my main hangar, but then modules came out. They were less effective. I went down to 1 Mender, and then even he didn't really survive based on some of the other robots that I picked up. They were just a little more powerful. So we'll see if this increase helps him. They gave him an increase to the total number of pulses that he heals for. It went from 3 to 4, and the repair per pulse went down slightly, but overall he's going to be healing more. The ability duration was also increased to 1 second, which is kind of a bigger deal than than people might think, because along with the healing on the Mender, he also gets that 50% damage reduction, which is really nice. You see, I do have a Mender in my second hangar, long range. He's got some low-level weapons. I'm still working on him, but I loved playing the Mender. He's a lot of fun, and he's a really good brawler because of that 50% damage reduction coupled with his heal. But he kind of lost favor in my main hangar because of everybody using the healing module. They are coming out with some new active modules soon, so maybe we might see a little bit less healing module on the battlefield, but I don't know. I might throw my Mender back in my main hangar to test him out. We'll see. He is a lot of fun, but we'll see what happens there. And I still need to pick up this other paint job. I'll need to do that on one of my other Menders, though. I just picked one up in a super chest, and I should have another one here that's already leveled up some. Yeah, so I have another level 9 here, and I think at some point I might get him the medic paint job, but we'll see. Who knows? Maybe if I have enough healing bots, if I pick up like the tier, for example, I can run a full healing hangar and try that out on a live stream or something. But yeah, that's the buff for the Mender. I really hope that does help him out. Now we're going to move on and take a look at some of the weapons. The Wasp received a buff. it looks like increased the firing rate slightly, increased the damage slightly, and increased the damage over time. I still don't think we're going to see them. I think the reason we won't see the Wasp too much, regardless of how much damage it does, is because it is a kinetic weapon, and there's just so many shields in the higher leagues that you know, you're just wasting your time when you're shooting at a shield. But who knows? I mean, I don't know if I've even got any. I think I have a few here, or almost two, in components that I just never claim. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But the Pulsar also received a nice buff. It increased its firing rate and its damage. The Pulsar was already really strong, but now it's going to be even stronger. I am looking forward to that. I do run a couple of Pulsars in my long-range hanger. They're still low level. I'm working on it, just like everything else in my long-range hanger. But it's a fun weapon, and I don't think it really needed a buff, but it got one, so we'll take it. The next one is going to be the Redeemer. Redeemer was another one that didn't need a buff. I do like the increased firing rate. I think the projectiles went from 2 to 3. I think now it's going to be more in line with how the Terrans fire, and I think that's a good thing, but I don't think it needed an overall buff, which is pretty considerable. Its damage per projectile was lowered, but overall damage from the 3 projectiles instead of 2 is going to be much higher. Plus, you got a lot more projectiles in the I guess magazine. I don't know what you would call it as far as energy plasma, but you get I went from 12 to 18, so you get a lot more shots. It's going to be strong, and I'm kind of glad I just picked up my second one, and it's I think going to be going eventually on my Aljun. Currently my Aljun is running the Avenger, which I'll talk about here in a second. It got a little bit of a nerf, so I think they're going to be good enough for the time being while I level up my Redeemers, but I think overall the Redeemers are going to be doing a lot more damage than the Avengers. They already did, and now they're going to be doing more damage, so I think that's the direction I'm going to go with that. I think, yeah, that was another thing. I just finished getting the Redeemer components for my second Redeemer, so be leveling that up soon. And let's go on to, what else do we have here? Corona buff. To decrease the reload time, which is nice, and increase the firing rate, basically. They call it projectiles per second, but it is the firing rate. It's going to now match the firing rate and reload of the Halo. That's pretty good. Corona didn't really need much of a buff. It was already good. The thing that hurts the Corona the most is the upgrade cost. It is pretty ridiculous. And I was running a couple of Coronas on my Nemesis, but and I just really like the Storm Corona combination better, so I went back to that. the lockdown ammo. Well, it gives a 100% chance to lock down for 5 seconds. That's an important thing to consider. Initially, when they were talking about the lockdown ammo getting a buff, it was a 100% chance on the first shot. That changed in wording and application to 4 or 5 seconds. Granted, you can't lock somebody down that's already locked down. It's got a 5-second timer, and then it's going to have 5-second immunity. But if, say, you're using Avengers or some other weapon, you can switch targets for 5 seconds and lock down more than one enemy. So that's kind of a big deal. We might see more people running lockdown ammo. Who knows? I don't know if I'm going to use it. I might try it out. But it's certainly not something that's, at the forefront. And a couple of other things. The Strider got a buff in its ability cooldown. It got shortened. It's kind of a side note here, but I think that's a big deal for those that run Strider. I have my Strider, and I'll probably be putting him back into my lineup in some capacity, just because of that. I took him out because, as a beacon runner, he did really good. He could get to, say, a center beacon if he used all 5 of his dashes pretty quickly. But I think if they wanted to buff the Strider, maybe a little bit of a health buff is something he could have used, but ability cooldown is definitely a big deal for him, because you're going to be able to reuse those dashes so much faster. So I'm sure we're going to see more Striders on the battlefield over Hellburners. There are still quite a few people running Hellburners, and they did pull back on their additional Hellburner nerf that they were going to do, but I think he's still going to end up getting nerfed again in the future. So for those of you that have the Striders, that's kind of a good deal there. The Leo got a buff. I guess, I don't know why they buffed the Leo. Maybe just to give more players additional silver in matches, because really Leo isn't a very good option for a robot. I'd say probably over Gold League, but anyway, that's fine. I'll take the additional silver. Galahad got a little bit of a health boost. I don't think we'll really see him or the Rage In, which is the next one that got a shield buff. I still don't think we're going to see them much more above maybe Diamond League. Shock Train got a buff. I don't know why. It shouldn't have got a buff. It didn't need a buff. They nerfed it for a reason, and with the introduction of modules, it did make a little bit of a comeback, and that's kind of annoying enough. So I'm not real excited about him getting a damage buff, but it is what it is, and we'll deal with it on the battlefield. Shredder, lockdown chance went up considerably. That's a huge deal. On something like my Ares, I run a couple of Shredders, and I think it had like a lockdown chance of like 21% at level 9 or something, and now it's 31%. So I'm really looking forward to having those work better for what they're on the robot for. I think that's a good deal, and a lot of people probably had Shredders and weren't using them, usually in favor of the Halo, so we might see more Shredders on the battlefield. Ion got a decent damage buff, maybe a little bit more of an option on the battlefield now. It was really strong already if you had them leveled up. The Glory got a big big damage boost. I have like 3 or 4 glories. I just haven't leveled them up, but for those people that I know that run a leveled up glory, they do massive damage already, and that's a pretty sizable buff that it got. Maybe more people will use them. We'll see. Then the Trident took a pretty. I think this is going to be a big nerf to the Trident. So yeah, the Trident nerf. That's a big nerf. They were doing a lot of damage, but the biggest benefit for them was the splash. It was able to take care of some of those bots that would hide behind cover that really were just camping, and you couldn't do anything about. Now it's going to be even harder to deal with them. The Avenger bullet spread increase, the Avenger was really strong, but it was strongest at close range. Maybe it was doing a little bit too much damage at 500 meters. I don't know, but I don't know if they needed a nerf or not. But we'll see how this 5% affects them. And going here, okay, so there is the new special edition Ares and Hades. I really like the look of that Hades. I don't really care much for the look on that Ares. And here's some more. These are the paint jobs. It looks like the Hellburner. I don't know why he's getting another paint job. He just got one, and they keep nerfing him. It does look kind of cool in the picture. A new paint job for the Heishi. I don't know. Heishi's kind of falling out of favor. He's not as strong as he once was. Some people, could still use him effectively, but there's a lot more powerful robots out there. But we'll see if this white paint job looks pretty good in game. And then there's the new paint job for the Nemesis. I really want to see a good up close in game look on that paint job, because I think it might look pretty cool. And then there's just a couple of other things. Matchmaking supposedly fixed an issue with teams of partial squads all getting matched on the same team against randoms. Who knows how they fixed it? I get a little nervous anytime they work on Matchmaker. Yes, there's a lot of problems with Matchmaker, but once we start learning how to deal with some of those problems, they go and change things, and who knows what they really did. So, but we'll see if that really was fixed. They added in-combat interface. This is kind of really cool. You get to see your team's health now. I think that's really going to be helpful when you're squatting. Weapons. Apparently the Glory had a bug. It wasn't dealing damage. Cover shouldn't get stuck. Really okay. Fury doesn't get stuck on slopes on Castle. Well, I think all robots are having problems with slopes. I think they need to kind of go back to the drawing board and fix that for all of the robots. And then you've got the modules. They added sound for it. Is that needed? Probably not. We'll see how it works out, though. Maybe it's helpful. And supposedly fixed a lot of issues and exploits for the Steam Game Room players. But yeah, that's it. This video has gone way too long, so I might end up having to do a whole separate video on this, but I wanted to touch base with everybody and just kind of cover everything with the update. But that is going to be it for today. I appreciate those of you that stuck through this whole thing, and I hope you got some good information out of it, and I guess that's going to be it until I see you guys on the battlefield. See you later.
Prepare yourself. The apocalypse.